Any other questions from the house?
I have a question, and it's going to piggyback off of this because you already started talking about. My name is Richard, and I'm with an organization called Harlem CLX, which is Create Learning Experience. My job is really to work on community engagement outreach. So my question really would be, for a young person that lives in Harlem, why would they want to come to see the show? And I know the answer, but I would like to actually hear from you guys on what should I be telling them on why they should come to see the show.
Can I start?
Please do.
For me, who didn't really know Nina Simone so much until this show, just only that when I heard her sing, I vibrate, because you feel her entirety in every note. But something that I love about the show is the impact she had on my father. How something about the way she brought herself gave him permission to bring himself too. And to me, that's an inspiration for the importance of how we understand how we impact, how just being so you as a child, as a part of any community, how you impact the person next to you. And every time you bring your strength and your bravery and your power, you affect ripples in unimaginable ways. Like, if we sat and asked your mom, do you know that the way you sat and played piano would encourage thousands of Jews across the world to feel pride? Which she just was being big, and gave my father the courage to be big back. And we all have that impact. And it's a gift to watch it.
Thank you, Darren.
Thank you, Lisa.
I think that considering my mother's background from Tryon, North Carolina, child prodigy, sixth of 8 children, born into a household that my grandmother was very, very religious. We have up to 13 ministers in our family. And example of how committed to the Bible my grandmother was. When I was 10 years old, it was a Sunday I wanted to go bowling, and she had to ponder if that was a sin. And I remember saying, Grandma, I don't think there's anything in the Bible that talks about bowling. So to be raised in that kind of a household, and for did you hear what he said? It's so Jewish. And so to be raised in that kind of a household, and to have, and as the impression I get is that Shlomo kind of had the same kind of restrictions. There were these rigid rules that the elders held to. And for them to live within those households, and then to reach a point within their own evolution where they said, we are going to find our own way. And to be fearless enough and courageous enough to go against the teachings, against the rules, and even against a lot of times we want the blessings of our parents. We may lie to ourselves and say it doesn't matter, but I think everyone in this room can say, when you do get the blessing, after you told yourself, fine, I don't need your blessing. And then when you do get it, there's this relief, there's this sense of rightness to that, to go against that. Like my mom, one of her biggest laments is that she would always say that my grandmother was ashamed of her and that she put her albums under the mattress. Now, the world revered Nina Simone. She had a great following. She had great influence, yet she would go home. And she wasn't Nina, she was Eunice. And she had to go back into that persona, into that box. And also the part of her that never healed with regards to her relationship to those to whom she wanted real blessings from. And as we sit here today, And we talk about this, the influence that she continues to have, the friendship that she developed with this great man that is touching so many people of different faiths today. I say all that in a disconnected way and to try to connect it to say that we all have our own paths. We all have our own reasons for being here. We all have our own impact to have upon the world and on each other. And oftentimes we have to follow our hearts and not doubt what we're feeling, even though we may feel so alone and just wonder, what is it that won't let me rest until I follow this path? Shlomo did that. My mom did that. Young people today are probably more confused than ever. There's too much information out there. There's no childhood anymore. And so too much is thrown at them at too young of an age. There's more depression and suicide and sense of identity crisis. Oh, we can talk about this all day. But our elders also were kind of saying the same thing when we were coming up. And so let this show be a beacon for those who are trying to find their way, to trust their hearts, to allow themselves, yes, we're going to fail. Yes, we're going to make mistakes, but it's about brushing yourselves off, knowing that it's all part of the process and that the greater you awaits you. If you just follow your heart and know that that is the beacon, that is the GPS. And we stand upon the shoulders of the ones who walk before us, and the best of our ancestors lives on in us. Trust that. Trust the love that exists in all of us, even though it may be buried under forms that do not feel loving. The love is there. And that we will reach where we're supposed to go. And that they are the future generations of this world, of this planet. And that all of us have a story to tell. All of us are stand upon the shoulders of our ancestors. All of us are equally important. And when we all come together collectively, we can make this place a much better place to live in happiness and in harmony together.
What was your name, brother? Yeah, I have a specific Harlem. The show really started in Harlem. The movie was first discovered at the Kwanzaa Festival in 2020 for Martin Luther King's Day. Someone had come to a screening, and it answered a great question of mine. Going back to the riots in Crown Heights, I was on a panel like this at Brooklyn College, talking about my parents and how I grew up with civil rights activists. So my mother had a volunteer school for Black kids, a core school, and a student from the Black student body with the Malcolm X glasses and everything, and real pride. He riveted me with following cogent question. He said, if you're presenting this relationship as friends, why are you Jews always telling us what you did for us? And you're not telling us, what about what we did for you? And he, as a gentleman, and I was so perturbed by that question for 20 years, really perturbed by that question. And I heard the answer. I say to myself, I wish I could meet that fellow again and talk to him. I didn't have an answer to that question. I discovered the answer to that question when in 2020, after the movie, a young filmmaker from Harlem came over to me and he said, you know why this is our story? Because this is the first time we were respected, that you realize what we have to give to the world. This is about what we did for the Jews. This is about how Black culture has revived the Jewish experience, which was a bankrupt. Quote your father, was bankrupt, completely bankrupt. It was worse than the first part of Sister Act. So this is a Harlem story. It's a Harlem story, and Harlem is the Jerusalem of the African culture in this country. So I really, it's meaningful to me that this is being talked about and shown and told in Harlem.
Do you think the kids will respond to this?
Yes, they would.
All right.
I think that representation does matter, and I really do think you have to trust the process. So,
Mm.
I heard you loud and clear.
Yeah, yeah.